Alyssa. So this is Crystal. I will be reviewing your lesson over living organisms and life cycles. And overall, I think that you have a really great lesson. You have clearly a lot of visuals for your students, and that's going to be very helpful for them. You also talked about having different recordings for your students to listen to throughout the lesson, and you've also got your higher level thinking questions added here so they can dig deeper into the concepts. And you also provided many opportunities for the students to interact with one another. So overall, you have a really great lesson. So just to start off with your lesson description, it is really good, but I think maybe you could format it to show the sequence of the activities that you're going to be doing in a way that it just like flows a little bit better. So for example, you could say in this lesson, the students will be, let's see what you said. They will be answering a series of questions about the similarities and differences between the cricket and butterfly during the engage. And then you could say, next, they will be doing whatever it is for the explore. And then just kind of have it sequenced in that way. And then for your objective, I like that this is very comprehensive with your objectives. You've also got your linguistic objectives, which are awesome. But so for your objective right here, I would rewrite it so it's like the SMART format that we learned, so that way it's a little bit more specific, it can be measured. So you could probably say by the end of the lesson, the student will be able to, whatever it is that you are wanting to assess them on. Maybe they are able to compare and contrast the life cycle of the butterfly and the cricket, or whatever you want them to be able to do. Like I said, your linguistic objectives are really great. It was super awesome. You added more than one linguistic objective, and that's really awesome. You also included the cognates, which is great. And you showed if they were true or false cognates. And I was thinking about how in the textbook, Wright said on page 277 that ELLs may know that they use many words from everyday life, but they have different meanings. So they eat off a plate, but in studying earth science, they will encounter plate tectonics. So similarly, you are including your cognates here so they understand how those vocabulary terms are going to be used. Also, just like a reminder, and I have to do this in my own lesson as well, just deleting any blue text that you have in your lesson plan so it looks, I guess, cleaner. And then let's see, for your engage, I really like that you essentially are asking your English language learners the same questions. Over here, you talked about how you're going to ask your students if the examples you gave are real, and the similarities and differences of the pictures in the set. And you also are basically saying the same questions for your ELLs, but you're restating it in terms that might be easier for them to understand, really simplifying the vocabulary, which is very helpful. For your explore, I really like that you were encouraging that student-to-student interaction. You're having them work together to compare the sets. And then also, at this point, you mentioned how you were going to see if there were any common misconceptions. Yeah, you mentioned that, and that you were going to address that later, at a later time. And then also, this is really hands-on, having them compare the set A and the set B that you included. And that's really helpful because, well, even in the textbook, write notes that basically hands-on activities, they provide rich language opportunities for students, and they're exploring real experiences using purposeful language in a meaningful context, and that's on page 279. So again, you're really just having them do activities that are engaging and very interactive, so that's going to really help them understand this concept. During your explain, I like that you're taking the time to clarify any misconceptions during this time. That's very good. And let's see, for your elaborate, I like that you are allowing your students to, well, your ELLs more specifically, to illustrate and label the similarities and the differences, because the other students are really writing out the similarities and differences, and it can be difficult for ELLs to be writing, so I was just allowing them to illustrate as opposed to, like you said, writing out the things. It can be a lot simpler for them. One suggestion I have would be to have them also orally explain how they're similar or different, so they can practice still using the content vocabulary. But it is really great that you're using a graphic organizer. That's going to be very helpful for students. I know that in the textbook on page 282, it talks about how outlines and graphic organizers can help English language learners identify the main ideas and information structure of the text. So it's really great that you are having the text really be more accessible for all your students. Let's see, so for your evaluate, I like that you're going over the questions to really just ensure that their misconceptions are being addressed, like you noted here. And one suggestion that I have would be to probably write in your plan somewhere like some of the sample questions that they're going to be answering from their FAQ booklets. I know that you noted they're going to be answering different questions, but it'd probably just be helpful to see like what those questions are, like maybe some of them. So let's see. And then for your gifted and talented differentiation, I would say maybe to have them explain maybe what kinds of ways they can describe that they are going through the life cycle changes. Like maybe you could have an example of how you can extend their thinking. You noted that you're going to have multiple resources to extend their thinking, and maybe just add an example. Like maybe you could have them illustrate another organism that goes through a metamorphosis that you guys didn't talk about. So that's just an idea. You don't have to use that. But overall, you have a really great lesson. You have several visuals, the recordings for the English language learners, and those higher level thinking questions to help your students dig deeper into the concept, and you provided several opportunities for the student-to-student interaction. So really well done. All right, thank you.